Good evening and welcome to the Mindful Garden. It's a little later today. Um, we'll start out as usual. We'll start out with our three deep breaths and bring ourselves and center ourselves into the conversation. So just three deep breaths with me. Now, tonight, it's Friday night, so I'm probably not going to get any visitors tonight. Everyone's going to be busy watching other things. But anyway, tonight, we're going to talk about the importance of being humble. Why is being humble important? Now, we could always point to people who aren't and say that they're great leaders of the world and so forth because of their ego and such. But I find for the spiritual self and for spiritual growth, being humble is very important because you're going to learn that you are very powerful, and with that comes incredible responsibility. And until you learn to be humble, you will not be able to access that power that we are all granted as humans. And now some people are able to access levels of it and utilize it and not necessarily remain humble, but they glean enough information and get going and are able to make a go of it. But from what I have noticed, though, from like, let's consider like a spiritual teacher or something. Most honest and true spiritual teachers will take a student no matter what, and they will be drawn to a student by spirit and follow that. And that doesn't mean that they won't do things like psychic readings and stuff like that for money or by donation and stuff like that. A lot of the really good psychics that I know that they're very humble. They are trying to be guided completely by spirit, but they're just trying to make a living as well. And if you really want to be able to help people, you have to get yourself, like, you have to live like a monk almost. But at that level, because of your interplay with the what people call the void, source, God, whatever you want to call it, your interaction with that becomes so strong, you're able to work through that and help people through that. And I've dealt with this with experience, and like, it's very hard to explain, so I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to come from a more scientific standpoint, so, but I have found that like the most powerful people in this field are always extremely humble, and the ones that start out humble and then lose their way kind of lose their power. And I remember reading an article about an old Mexican healer who, soon as she started charging for her work, she complained that sometimes it didn't work for her anymore as much as it did. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are many of us who are guided not to work for monetary gain because we're working for the betterment of humanity. The old shamans, the old spiritual teachers, and the old elders of the tribes were held in high regard and treated well, not because they were like lavish with riches for their work. It's because their work paid dividends and made the tribe wealthy. And it's because of the, oh, we have to keep humble hearts, and as a humanity, in that humbleness, there's one thing I'm being drawn to, and that is like ceremonies for the connection between us and water, ceremonies between us and nature and birds and stuff like that, that the natives used to do, and that the tribesmen down in the Amazon are trying to do, and they're trying to. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of the movie. That's horrible. I should be able to give props to good things, but there's a connection between all things that our modern society has completely severed, and in doing that, we're missing something that is more. Once you access it, it's like it can be very addictive, and people can get lost to it. That's very like it. You hear people talking about living in 5D and stuff like that, and like yes, we can have a world that dwells in 5D, but that will also remain with a factor of 3D because 3D supports 5D and so forth. Like every dimension, there's the singular source dimension that comes from everything, and then we go from there. So 3D, 4D, and 5D, we're always going to have those levels. It's just a matter of all of humanity thinking and dwelling within 5D and 7D and 8D and 9D and so forth. But I don't like giving it numbers. Numbers doesn't it's just layers. Like there's expansion layers and retraction layers. Both ways are infinite, and that's the way it goes. So you can turn inward infinitely and look at everything and look at the universe infinitely inward, and you can look at everything infinitely outward. And in doing that, you will definitely become humble in knowing your connection in the center of that and your power in that. But at the same time, you're not going to, like, you're going to realize you're insignificant as well. Like, it's a, I like many people have described it. So like you can go to many philosophers and such, but like the feeling of connection that what people would call the connection to God or Source, it for me it does nothing but humble me, because I just think of the nature of the universe and everything all at once, and it's very humbling, just like our significance that we are, because we are so significant in what we do and what we and our actions, but at the same time we are just a speck of dust in space. Simple as that. Excuse me. Oh, don't smoke cannabis, that's a horrible thing. Anyway, the importance of being humble. Let's get back to that. I'm feeling That's the thing. Like, I gotta stop saying I. We. We are all one being as a human in some way, shape, or form. We are also one being as Earth, and that is one level of being as well. And that interconnects us with all life and all material, including like the chair I'm on and well. Um, so today's a hard subject. It like is for like I can't. I see a lot of spiritual teachers and stuff that they they mislead by example because they do not remain humble in themselves. And like you can spot like a lot of them. um, but it's just important to keep a humble heart. Um, for me, it's what has led me to being what it's hard to say, talk about because this is a hard subject. So, in dream time, I'm what is a guardian, and what a guardian is a human that's training to be the equivalent of like what an angel or a dragon or something of a spiritual being of that nature is. And it's just you're in training. Like it's you it's more like learning how to be an aid to the collective. And in doing that, like I unlock that just by being humble. And I don't know how to necessarily explain it. That's why I'm having a hard time. Like I'm having a hard time explaining the importance that like because to truly do it, you're eventually going to sacrifice your free will. Does this like does this make sense? Like you're gonna let go of your free will and not be you anymore. You're gonna be more than you, and it's like, and the reason why you have to be humble in that, like you have to trust that that collective that is interacting with you is going to give you back, and you have to like that's just it right there. You like there's nothing more humbling than giving it all up just so you can have it all. And that's exactly what people say God is saying. Like you have to be willing to give like everything. Everything has to you have to be willing to give everything to what they consider source, the universe. I like to say the universe because it just God just doesn't cut it for me. Doesn't that makes that's hard for me to like Buddhism puts it well. It's more like the unknown than anything. Um, it's very hard for me to explain and put out well. But anyway, a humble heart is the key to an incredible power to a collective of humanity. And if we cannot remain humble, we will get misguided and have that come up against us. It's kind of from my guidance, from my spiritual guidance, which is like I say, from someone comes from an atheist, like saying I talk to spirits is kind of a weird thing. But anyway, I let them go and let my, like, it's like I have egos to spare. It's like I line them up and I say, let's lay them out. And each one I will lay down and die for the chance to get to converse with what people would say the Almighty. Like, I want to knock on the door of wisdom. That's a better way to put it. That's like, I want to knock on the door of wisdom, and to knock on the door of wisdom, you have to be humble. You cannot come with any ego whatsoever. Like, you can have a healthy ego presence with you that makes it so that you remember the situation, but that ego presence is going to be sacrificed to get through the doorway to get the knowledge. Does that make sense? Like, that ego presence can be sacrificed to get the knowledge. And what's going to happen, like, a good psychic, let's talk about a good psychic that channels. They are completely willing to turn over to what they consider their guiding spirits, and in their humility be able to access what those guiding spirits are trying to speak to their customers. Or I would like to think that good ones will be guided more by spirit than monetary means, but monetary means will just come up because people are at least very kind for the situation, especially when it works out really well. It's an interesting topic, but if I could speak to all people, like, approaching the world with a humble heart will make it so that you appreciate everything you get, even if it's like, I suffer from depression, so I feel bad for myself a lot. It's a very interesting way to put it. I grumble and stuff, so it's just, yeah. Anyway, we've had a good knock. A humble heart unlocks lots. I can guarantee that. You guys have yourself a good night. Let's close out with a prayer for opening up hearts and minds, of course. And that's exactly what I aim to do, is open up hearts and minds. That's the whole purpose of my being, is to crack open that noodle of people's. But anyway, open up hearts and minds, especially those that can help. You guys have a good night. Thank you for checking it out. A little bit off tonight. I'm late. I'm tired. You guys have a good night. Thank you. Bye.